Welcome to the Bankless by Design podcast, where we rethink money, ditch the system, and rediscover what it means to truly thrive well. I'm Tricia Miller, mom of 7, financial coach, and founder of Thrivewell. Around here, we believe wealth is more than numbers. It's about freedom, stewardship, and building a legacy that lasts. If you're ready to challenge the norm and take back control of your financial life, you're in the right place. Hello. Today, I want to take you behind the scenes a little bit and share why I decided to rebrand my business from Build Smart Money to Thrivewell, Bankless by Design. When I first created the name Build Smart Money, I was just a few years into my journey with the infinite banking concept, and I was super excited about what was happening in my financial world. I quickly realized that the moment I paid a premium, I had just exponentially increased my net worth. And that no matter what happened to me, even hereafter, I just knew that I had made a huge change in my family's life. I had already purchased some real estate and had seen what leveraging a smaller amount of money could do to increase your net worth. So by paying that first year premium, this took this whole idea to a completely new level. Anyways, all I could think was that was so smart. So I was really kind of focused on how smart the strategy was, and thus the name Build Smart Money. However, since then, and that was good as far as that went, right? But since then, even though I still think it's incredibly smart, there have been a couple of things that have made me realize that Build Smart Money fell short. So the first one was just a little bit of a technical error. The fact of the matter is when we participate in the infinite banking concept, we aren't actually building or accumulating money. And that may sound crazy at first, but we're building something much better. We're building cash value, which is a form of capital. And I didn't really understand the nuances of that at first. So let me explain the difference to you. So money really is currency, and today's currency is fiat currency, no less, which means that it is backed by nothing more than the good faith of the government and them telling us that this is the means of exchange and us accepting that for our labor, for our goods and our services. But it's not backed by gold or anything else of real intrinsic value. But capital is value backed. You see, inside of a dividend-paying mutual whole life insurance contract, which is what we're using when we do the infinite banking concept, cash value is actually growing, and it is supported by the long-term prime investments of the life insurance company. And maybe even more importantly, it is contractually guaranteed. So you might think of cash value as like the equity in the policy. And a lot of people find it easier to understand when they think about home equity because they're accustomed to having equity in their home. So your equity in your home, well, that's not like you have a pile of cash sitting somewhere in your home, right? It's not money either. It's a value based on how much you've paid down your mortgage, how much the market says it's worth, and it's the difference in between. So as far as that goes, it is a bit comparable, and it can be collateralized similarly to equity in your policy, that cash value. But the difference is it's not guaranteed, right? The markets can crash, the value of your home can lose value, and your equity can disappear. So it is not guaranteed like the cash value in your life insurance policy. The other piece about it is that it's not as easily collateralized. You actually have to go to the bank and you have to jump through the hoops. And God forbid you lose your job and now you need to tap into your equity. It probably isn't going to happen. So all of that to say, and we can talk about all of that more later, but I was a little bit troubled by the fact that my name had this idea of building smart money when it's not really money. It's a technicality to be sure, but words matter. So I started to consider a change. Now, the second reason I decided to rebrand and change the name is really more of a philosophical one. The name didn't really reflect my heart or the heart of my work, which is helping people to build wealth that is aligned with their value and their purposes. Build Smart Money left me concerned that people might question my motives. It sounded like building money for money's sake, as if getting rich in a smart way or a clever way was all that I cared about. And in fact, that couldn't be further from the truth. So after many conversations and sharing a lot of my story with friends as to what brought me to the infinite banking concept, I landed on the name Thrivewell. And I would be remiss if I didn't give some credit to a fellow practitioner and dear friend, Becca Wilhite. She doesn't even know I'm recording this and talking about her, but I really have to share this with you because this little book that she wrote, it's called Beaver Bankers, and I'll just put it up here so you can see it. It's a darling little children's story. I mean, it was written primarily for children, but it does have a place in the back to speak to adults to kind of explain the analogies and how it works with the infinite banking concept. But what I love about it is the way that this book describes to me the most beautiful aspect of the infinite banking concept. And that was what I wanted to capture in my name. So let me just share with you just a little bit about this story because it might help you to grasp what I'm talking about. You see, the story is about a little boy named Sam. I think he's 8 or 9 years old, and he's at his grandfather's house. And you can tell that they're having a family gathering at grandpa's house. And the grandfather sees that he's eager to get out of the house and go outside and play. So the grandfather takes time to take a little walk with his grandson and takes him down the dirt road and through a grassy meadow and to the edge of the pond. And the story indicates that Sam has spent many hours there. You can tell there's this great relationship between him and his grandparents. He has spent time there hunting frogs and chasing minnows, just like his grandpa had done. So I hope you can see that this story is painting a picture of the hopes and dreams that many of us have, that there is this intergenerational bond. It's almost of a little bit of a lost thing, I'm afraid. But at any rate, he takes him to the pond and he says to Sam, "Did you know that this pond used to be a river?" And he takes him through the reeds and he shows him a beaver dam that has been there for almost 70 years. He goes on to explain that the beavers had built this dam bit by bit, and slowly but surely, the river was transformed into a pond that grew bigger and bigger. It took those beavers a lot of work and patience, but once it was built, those beavers had created for themselves an environment that protected them from predators, and it provided everything that they need to thrive, to build a home where they could protect their families. And by controlling the flow of the water, they gave themselves a great advantage over their predators. They had everything that they needed, food, wood, and mud, all safely within their reach. So I can't tell you how many times I've pondered over the beauty of that vision for a family in its multi-generational scope, providing an environment of protection and provision for my children and my children's children. And so this really spoke to me. I wanted to create an environment where my family can thrive, where they can have all that they need should calamity happen. They will have the resources they need to survive. I don't want them to be dependent on outside sources to meet their needs. I don't want them to be dependent on something like a GoFundMe. We see a lot of that, right? Or a government program. I want us to be far more self-sufficient and free to take care of our own needs and then be enabled to care for others and be more generous with those around us. This is what is the heart behind all that I'm doing. This is my passion for my own family, and it's what I hope to help others accomplish as well. Will this happen overnight? No, it didn't happen in the story that way either. This is nothing even close to like a get-rich-quick scheme. I know sometimes people will say something like that about the infinite banking concept, but if they do, they really do not have an understanding of it because nothing could be further than the truth. This is foundational. This is long-term. It takes patience and diligence over time. And in my family, I'm happy to be just the beginning. I hope that I'm starting to build something that they can build upon in the future. I know I'm not going to see the end of what all of this could bring going forward, but I'm excited to be the one to start it because we have to start somewhere. And even as I was thinking about this, it reminded me a little bit of the idea behind the great cathedrals of Europe. If you think about that, some of those most beautiful cathedrals took multiple generations. They took hundreds, centuries to build. the first generation, think about them, who started building a cathedral back in the medieval days. I mean, they had to have a vision beyond anything most of us can even imagine. We hardly think past next week. If we're lucky, we put a vacation on the calendar next year. And that's about as far as we get. I don't know. But the people who started the cathedrals, they were motivated by their belief in bringing glory to God in all that they did. They really, truly believed that the things that they did today would matter for eternity and into the future. Their willingness to embark on a project that they would never even see to completion really inspires me. And I want to just, even the analogy of the cathedral, you think about it, they built that cathedral with massive foundations. They knew that whatever they were going to have to build on top of that foundation, it was going to have to be done very, very well. And it was going to be built to last for generations. And not only that, they built them beautiful with incredible grandeur, right? Majesty. They took their time. They had to plan very carefully. So back to my rebranding. As I thought through a new name and all of these ideas, creating an environment of protection and provision, building something with a long-term vision with stability and strength for the sake of human flourishing across the generations, built on a solid foundation. These are the ideas behind my vision and mission with Thrivewell. And I just felt like that name better reflected the heart behind what I'm doing. So it focuses on wealth as a tool for living and caring well for those that we love and being enabled to be part of a bigger community and to live generously. It also encourages us to really align our capital with our values and the things that matter most to us in life. And my values may not be your values, and that's okay. That's not the point. I want to encourage people to think long-term and to really think about aligning their capital with their own values for their families, for their purposes. So, and maybe even for your business, for your dreams, for the things that you want to see come to fruition, even if it's beyond you. So, why Bankless by Design? We've talked about Thrivewell. Bankless by Design is the name of this podcast, and it's also a slogan for my business name. Well, this idea of Bankless by Design came from the idea of stepping away, choosing independence from a broken financial system. The financial system that we are living in, like it or not, it is a dishonest system. And so we want to step away from that, and we want to do that on purpose and systematically. It's going to take time, no doubt about it. But think about what the wealthy do. They circle the wagons and they keep the money in the family. And those who do it well, do it across multiple generations. So this is about living without the banks because you're building a system that's going to be able to reclaim control over your own capital and create the ability for you to self-finance all of your own needs. Nelson Nash laid the groundwork for us in the book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And he and his family set the example that by following this system, they were able for, I believe, almost 30 years or more to be able to self-finance all of their needs. That meant that they didn't have to go to the bank for mortgages, for cars, for vacations, for any of their financial needs. They didn't have to darken the door of a bank. They didn't have to go beg and borrow and plead. They had the ability all within their own environment, just like the beavers, building their own safe, protected, and self-sustaining environment. So, and I will say, Nelson said that living like that was a peaceful, stress-free way of life. Doesn't that sound lovely? That's the vision. So that is the heart of Thrivewell, Bankless by Design. So I hope you will consider joining me on this journey. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I would love to have you like and subscribe. That way you can be notified of future episodes. But also, I would love it if you'd leave me a comment. I would greatly appreciate your feedback. I will read all of the comments and answer anything that I can. And if you do want to reach out to me, you can find me at banklessbydesign.com. If you're interested in getting a copy of either Becoming Your Own Banker or the book I talked about today, Beaver Bankers by Becca Wilhite, you can find a link on my website to order both of those at banklessbydesign.com. Until next time, thank you so much for listening and have a great week. Thanks for tuning in to the Bankless by Design podcast, where we're done with the system and we're doing money differently. Be sure to subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs it, and visit us at banklessbydesign.com to learn how you can start living Bankless by Design.